Hello again. Here we are at Dubbo Airport. Once I get out of this car park, we'll head back to Dubbo. It's only a couple of kilometres. Yes, creeping around in silent electric murder machine again. Not for long. All those beeps you heard just a few seconds ago, that's just the car starting up. Followed by the reversing beeper. It bings on the inside of the car to let me know it's in reverse, but it doesn't beep on the outside to let anyone know that I'm coming. Not a very big airport, only gets half a dozen flights a day. The departures terminal has 2 gates, but they both dump onto the same tarmac, so there's not much point having 2 gates. But then the various airlines demanded a separate gate each, so the government said, fine, we'll stick a door on it, 2 doors in, and you can call them gates. We have security now, X-ray machines and all. Running around the end of the runway. Commenters on my last video said there were too many utes, or so many utes in this country. I don't think there's too many. I think it's just the right number of utes. We're following that yellow one in front of us is behind another one. Why not? They're a good vehicle. Unfortunately, with the demise of Holden and Ford leaving the country, the good old Aussie ute is dead. I think this year and next year will be the last production run. From then on we have to get them from overseas. Now we just go over this little hill and Dubbo will be in front of us. You'll see most of it. It's not a terribly big city. It's not bad. heads out to the northwest, off to our right. Goes through Narromine first. Usually when there's a steam train doing runs, they head out that way because there's not much traffic. There's the occasional ore train from Cobar and grain trains from further west where the wheat is grown. Now this is the Wylandra Street shopping centre. It's not big, it's West Dubbo's centre. It services this end of town. It's got a few pretty good shops, some good Chinese shops and takeaways. And that grinding noise you hear when I slow down, that's the regenerative braking kicking in. Because being a hybrid, when I touch the brakes, rather than apply pads to discs, the electric motor switches into generative mode and throws power back into the batteries, which is cool. Yes, bad Volkswagen. Take a run down to the river, have a look at it, because it's up very high at the moment. One way onto our one-way system. Yes, Dubbo has a one-way system. This is it. Now this is a boat ramp. I won't go down. That sign is normally 10 metres from the edge of the river. Now the dam upstream was releasing 100 megalitres a day, but yesterday they raised the gates a little more and it's now releasing 150 megalitres a day. The dam is currently at 138% of its capacity. Now it's not really affecting Dubbo, it's a few low-lying bridges have gone under. The flood warnings are out for low-lying housing and houses on floodplains, but it doesn't really affect us here. About 10 years ago, where we are sitting was under 2 metres of water, and that was an inconvenience for most people. The LH Ford Bridge, which is just beside us, which you'll see when I do a U-turn, or chuck a Yui, as they say in these areas. It was the LH Ford Bridge beside us was the only crossing over the river in this end of the state, which caused an awful lot of traffic jams, because in order to get from east to west, everyone had to come through Dubbo. Now this river is the Macquarie. It starts near Bathurst, 2.5 hours drive east of here. Now from Bathurst to Dubbo, the river falls 300 metres. From Dubbo it flows north to meet the Barwon, about 800 kilometres away. Then from there it flows west 400, 500 kilometres to meet the Darling, and from the Darling River it then flows south 1400 kilometres to meet the Murray River, and then a further 500 kilometres to meet the sea, and in that distance the river falls 300 metres. So just west of Dubbo the land gets very, very flat. This river spreads out a lot. There are flood warnings around the town of Warren, which is north of us, about 3 hours drive north. Now the big flood of 10 years ago, when it reached that area, it spread out to create a body of water 2 metres deep and the size of Great Britain. It caused a lot of problems, as you can imagine. So let's see if I can get to Sandy Beach, and we'll have another look at the river from the other side. That's the LH Ford Bridge there. Oh, and I have to go around the one-way system. Not as bad. I've been on worse one-way systems. I've driven around Leighton Buzzard and Aylesbury in England. I got caught on the Cambridge one-way system. I got caught so badly on the Cambridge one-way system, I couldn't find the way out. I was hoping to use the Dirk Gently method of driving around in ever decreasing circles until centrifugal force threw me out into the countryside and I could find my way. I did one of those random left, right, I had no idea where I was going. I did left, right, ended up out of the one-way system. I still don't know how I did that. I haven't driven in Cambridge since then. In fact, when I do go to the UK, I tend to park on the edge of town and at a park and ride and catch the bus in. Yes, small Revy engine. Doing the speed limit. I have a device in my car that limits the speed limit, limits the speed I can go. It's a pedal under the right foot. I didn't think that one up. That comes from Steve in England. So chuck a left. And then another left up here. Yeah, we've had rather a lot of rain in the last few months. In June, the dam upstream was at 10% capacity. Now it's 130 something. Just taking some of the back road to a little place we call Sandy Beach. It's not a beach. It's actually not sandy either, but it's a bend in the river where you can swim. Forgot about that gutter. see, there is no sandy beach. In fact, there's nothing. There's a river. Now that's usually where we bring Polly to have a swim. Polly, the blue cattle dog, if you don't know her, loves swimming in the river. Can't get her out of the water. She loves it. She just swims in there for hours and hours, and then you take her home and you can't get her into the tub to have a bath because she hates the tub. Go figure. So this is Sandy Beach. Or it would be. Looks like it's under about 3 metres of water there. Okay, nothing to see here. Move along. Trees you see here are natives. These ones that look like pine trees are called she oak, and of course there's eucalypt. There's always eucalypt. It's Australia. Australia. Believe it or not, Dubbo has a dragon boat club. This is their home base. They practice here. Win the local dragon boat competitions. I'd never heard of dragon boats until I was down here one day, and there's a long boat with a whole bunch of people rowing, paddling. That was cool. And of course, just passing the cricket nets. Free to use for anyone who wants to practice their batting. What are you doing? Turning? Yes. Ooh, wheel spin. I'm turning into a hoon. I'll chuck it right here and just travel up a little bit further. That's lunchtime. You might notice there's rather a lot of solar panels on the houses around here. Dubbo has one of the highest uptakes of solar panel installation in the country. I reckon about 30% of the houses have solar panels of some sort. And there's a company about to build a 100 megawatt solar farm on the edge of town. And why not? When you've got days like this, you'd be just raking in the photons. Of course, the federal government provides absolutely no incentive to do any of this. It's just people wanting to put power on, solar power. The federal government is actively against renewable energy, wind farms, solar farms, small solar installations, they are quite happy to keep digging up coal and burning it, sending it over to China. I mean, realistically, coal only has one use, and that is to make steel. You can't make steel without coal, but you can certainly generate power without it. Currently on Darling Street, we're just crossing the highway again. There's a car like mine. Yeah. Mine's a blue one. I'd love to own a Tesla. I've looked at the ranges on them. It would have to be the Model S 90D, because that's the one with the range to get from Sydney to Dubbo. There are no charging stations on the road. There's a couple of privately owned ones. There are no major charging stations on the road from Sydney to Dubbo. And they wonder why no one wants to buy electric cars. Actually, the Holden Volt failed in this country because they didn't advertise. Holden didn't advertise it. It cost twice as much as the Holden Cruise, which is a similar size car. And they wondered why it failed. In fact, I see General Motors has decided that the Bolt EV and the 2018 model or 2017 model Volt PHEV are not going to be made in right-hand drive versions. They probably think there's no market, but we're saying, sort of ignoring the fact that Japan, India, Indonesia, all of Southeast Africa drive on the right-hand side. That's about a quarter of the world's population. That's a sizable market they're locking themselves out of. It's the cultural centre there. People joke that the only culture in Dubbo is found on old yogurt jars at the back of a fridge. We're cultured. We have culture. Not much, but it's there. Ooh, an ambo with political slogans written on it. State government's upset the ambulance drivers. You know, there's a lot of vehicles that General Motors and Ford produce that they don't do right-hand drive versions of, and then they wonder why they can't break into the Japanese market. Hey, pies! Time to go left. Philly Tight Bake, award-winning pies. When I say pies, they're meat pies, of course, mince meat with gravy in the flavours of curried, plain. Their plain meat pies win awards. They do steak and kidney, steak and bacon, steak and cheese, steak, bacon and cheese, steak and pepper, chicken and vegetables with no chicken, Why am I sitting here talking? It's pie time.
Get your hands on pro-grade equipment from Husqvarna. Visit your local...
Maybe a little too much. Sorry, Willie.